This video is brought to you by Noom. Hey Wisecrack, Michael here. Today we're talking about some of the most gross, depraved losers ever to marinate a ham in rum.
This is ham, soaked in rum.
Whether they're running a door-to-door gas scheme,
Well, you're looking all sorts of good.
or in the bed,
You know you did it, fess up.
I did not poop the bed.
Whoa, rewind.
the Patty's crew are terrible friends, seemingly determined to force each other to make the worst possible choices and to live their worst possible lives. But no matter how bad things get for the gang, they never seem to be able to escape one another. It's worth asking the question, why don't they all just leave? What is the strange glue that binds them together, and what might their destructive tendencies tell us about our own friendships? Let's find out in this Wisecrack Edition on It's Always Sunny, how your friends can ruin you. Now, before we dive into the gang's bad behavior, I want to give a quick second to shout out this week's sponsor, Noom. It's ironically a behavior change innovator, which helps people who are looking to become healthier and maybe lose some weight. Noom uses science and psychology to teach people how to live healthier lives. They help you learn how your mind works so you can develop lasting habits. Other programs focus on quick fixes, fad diets, and neglect to teach people about healthy habits. With Noom, you can focus on non-scale goals and take daily lessons to learn about why certain foods are healthier than others, how to break your thought distortions, and how to motivate yourself on the day-to-day. When you join Noom, you will be set up with a personal goal specialist who is trained in psychology, fitness, and nutrition. I love that you can join group chats. It's so much easier to stay motivated if you can check in with other people who are on the same type of health journey as you. And check out Noom today by clicking the link in the description. Take the quick and easy online evaluation to create your custom plan. Now, back to the show. Sitcoms are often about people trapped together by circumstance, whether that be work, familial relations, or by virtue of being the last remaining humans on Earth. The comedy results from these situations, which bind the characters together, whether they like it or not. Conventions, of course, are meant to be broken. For instance, Seinfeld is often described as a show about nothing, in part because all that binds Jerry and his friends together is that they are neurotic, self-centered assholes with no ability to learn or grow.
But I'm disturbed. I'm depressed. I'm inadequate. I got it all.
Always Sunny could be seen as a somewhat straightforward development of Seinfeld. Ostensibly, the gang is trapped together because they co-own Patty's pub. But Always Sunny is in no way a normal workplace comedy a la Cheers.
Oh my God, dude.
Oh, Jesus.
Bro, I just pissed in there.
Beginning with the arrival of the absurdly rich Frank in season 2, the gang hasn't relied on Patty's for income, and so the bar has come to function as a sort of clubhouse. Running it is something the characters only bother to do when it can serve as the site for one of their schemes. And though some of the characters are related, the show is in no way a family comedy.
What you need?
One, please.
One what?
One rock of
One crack.
A crack rock.
This all lends the gangdom a curiously arbitrary feel. Nothing in particular seems to keep them together. In theory, any one of them might depart the group at any time. And occasionally, they've tried. From Dennis moving to North Dakota to be with his secret family,
Goodbye, Philadelphia. Goodbye, Charlie. Mac, D, Frank.
to Charlie going to work as a school janitor. But even when a member does get out, it's never for very long. Without the complete group, something always seems to be missing. For instance, in one episode, Dennis is replaced as the gang's de facto leader. The gang starts to function much more effectively as a group, and in theory, should be a lot happier. But they can't stop thinking about Dennis, not least because Mac has a creepy sex doll made in his likeness.
Oh my God.
By the end of the episode, when Dennis unexpectedly returns, his replacement is unceremoniously discarded.
You can go now.
We see this again when the gang misses out on a cool boat party. This failing leads Dennis to disband the dysfunctional group,
You know what? I gotta get away from you people.
and each member sets out on their own.
I gotta get away from you people. You're all insane.
But Dennis's attempts at being a solo player again quickly fall apart when he tries and fails to sell his half-submerged Range Rover. Without the rest of the gang to gaze upon him as their leader, he quickly finds himself in a megalomaniacal rage.
This car is a finisher car, a transporter of gods, the golden god. I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds.
Mac, meanwhile, tries to become a party boy who bangs hot chicks, but without the gang to help him repress his gayness, he fails.
He can't even get it up with me.
Well, that's because she's not even that hot.
At the same time, Frank finds a new gang to bankroll, but ends up destroying their dreams of running a bar. Charlie and Dee, meanwhile, initially feel liberated, free from the psychological shackles imposed on them by the gang.
No.
Regular chicken sandwich.
That's it? That's it for him.
But they quickly screw up their newfound freedom by sleeping together. And so the gang decides that no matter how miserable they are making each other, being trapped together is still preferable to the alternatives. For some reason, it seems the characters need each other. In fact, they seem to be giving each other something that nobody else can. So what is this thing? We can find the answer with the help of a philosophical concept called recognition, or at least philosopher G.W.F. Hegel's notion of it. Hegel's idea is as follows. We would not know that we were ourselves and that we were a distinct individual if it were not for the fact that others recognize us as such. That is to say, we don't know we're really a person until we find ourselves recognized by another person. For Hegel, there's no authentic self. Your identity derives almost entirely from what other people make of you. And this isn't simply saying that if someone recognizes you as a nice guy or day man, that you will subsequently identify as a nice guy or a day man. For Hegel, recognition is essential in helping us become both thinking beings and social beings. Put otherwise, if you were born into an empty void and were never recognized by another thinking thing, you're going to have a rough time developing any type of rational or social consciousness. This can all help us understand what happens when the gang disbands. Their identities are thrown into a state of flux. Dennis is no longer recognized as a leader. He's just some weird, angry guy. Mac is no longer surrounded by people who will happily ignore the fact that he's gay. Frank no longer has anyone to enable his crazy schemes. Charlie and Dee are no longer recognized as pathetic losers and are now free to take responsibility for their own lives, which is terrifying.
Misery,
Chains.
thunder.
Rain.
Wanting their old identities back, they all retreat to the only people they know who can help sustain them. This then is the situation which traps the gang together. And it's from this which Always Sunny's comedy is derived. It is a sitcom about the struggle for recognition. It's Always Sunny isn't the only show to deal with recognition. The theme plays a big role in more traditional sitcoms as well. On your typical show, however, the recognition shared by the characters helps them become better versions of themselves. Like Cal in an episode of The Office, Pam may feel like a failure about her art show, only to be uplifted by Michael, who recognizes her as a serious artist. So the gang is far from unique in relying on one another for recognition. What distinguishes them, however, is the fact that they are so bad at it.
Everyone knows who Superman is and they know it's not you.
Unlike our friends up in Scranton, who eventually can see positive traits in one another, down in Philly, recognition is used as a tool for destruction and dysfunction. But what exactly is the gang doing wrong? To truly understand their dysfunction, we need to talk about the three primary forms of social recognition. These are love, legal recognition, and social esteem, at least according to theorist Axel Honneth. We need to have all three and in the right way, or we won't be able to feel happy. Instead, we would be subject to what Honneth calls misrecognition, which is what happens when recognition goes wrong. If proper recognition leads to the development of a healthy sense of self and the ability to participate in a democratic society, misrecognition can lead to a distorted sense of self, along with some very unchill social tendencies. Love is the sort of recognition associated with family, friends, and romantic partners. It is through love that we recognize each other as creatures with needs and emotions. Think Jim and Pam, or the friendship of Leslie Knope and Ann Perkins. By being recognized as people who need love, these folks end up becoming loving people. It's a reciprocal process that benefits both parties. The gang's main friendships are, of course, only with each other, because frankly, they're kind of intolerable. The gang also rely on each other to perform familial and romantic roles. Dennis and Dee are twins, even if they don't like each other.
I would like to find you a man. Come on. Yeah. A man to settle down with. Now, I'm not talking about a smart man, not a handsome man, but a very, very average, if not below average man, to take you off of our hands forever.
And they were raised by Frank, who, along with being a terrible parent, isn't actually their biological father.
I was just told, excuse me, that my horrible,
poor wife has tricked me into raising two bastards for 30 years, and I'm being asked to not make a scene.
Frank, however, may have fathered Charlie. The two share a strange bond which often resembles domestic coupledom.
Oh, it's bleeding like a sieve.
Then use your sock, bro.
Oh, don't waste a good sock on a tiny little cut. I'll find you a candy wrapper if you give me a second.
Oh.
Mac is Dennis's closest friend, but he also seems to want to, bang, and often positions their relationship as a domestic partnership.
Somehow, old Mac pulled it together. He cooked for you, he cleaned for you. In fact, Dennis, everything I do for you.
What's more, the gang seems utterly incapable of forming meaningful romantic relationships, particularly Dennis, whose attitude towards women is straight up sociopathic.
Hello?
Welcome to hell.
The closest any of them really get to loving another person is Charlie, whose relationship with the waitress is one of the few sweet and pure things depicted on the show. If you look beyond the fact that he stalked her for 15 years, ruined her life, finally dated her, then decided he's just not that into it.
Last night I lived out one of my actual nightmares.
The point is, when loving recognition isn't really about love, it ends up being a type of misrecognition, and that makes it hard for people to both give and receive love. Which is to say, if being recognized as capable of giving and receiving love makes you a loving person, the opposite makes you more of a, well, Dennis.
Kill you, you fat piece of...
Legal recognition is associated with, you guessed it, the law, not bird law, human law, to be clear. Through legal recognition, we recognize each other as independent adults who are able to make responsible decisions that ideally do not unduly infringe the rights of others. You treat me like a free citizen deserving of rights, and I do the same for you. Throughout the series, the gang display very little interest in the social order. They are too selfish and too irresponsible to accept that they have any duties to anyone or anything other than themselves. They do things like stage their own court cases and patties, which are distorted reflections of the legal order that exists in theory beyond them.
And at the end, whoever has the most gavels on their side wins.
Charlie is obsessed with becoming a lawyer, despite being functionally illiterate.
But I've done my research. I got something with this bird theory that's gonna blow the court.
I don't think we should pursue this bird nonsense, Charlie.
I'm well versed in bird law.
When the gang is forced to engage with extra Patty's legal institutions, their deviancy is front and center, as seen through their repeated clashes with the lawyer. When you don't recognize a social order outside yourself, it's a lethal cocktail of narcissistic delusion and moral anarchy. Coincidentally, that drink is called the Dennis, and it's a happy hour special at Patty's. But again, the gang's inability to participate in a system of social recognition further destroys their possibility of becoming healthy individuals. Finally, social esteem is what we get from our community. It's what allows us to relate positively to who we are as individuals. Hanneth calls this form of recognition solidarity. If we have solidarity with one another, we'll all help each other live good lives. As the Patty's crew is unable to relate positively to the world outside of the bar, they're forced to get their social esteem entirely from each other. That's why they do things like stage special ceremonies that are meaningful only to themselves. But these ceremonies are not expressions of genuine solidarity, rather a distorted version of it. The gang, in fact, has no intergroup solidarity because they don't really want the others to become the best versions of themselves. Best case scenario, they want to exercise control over one another or use one another for some fleeting hedonistic satisfaction. And whenever they do happen to draw someone else into their world, that person is invariably left way worse off for their efforts. Moral of the story? If you don't recognize your good friends as worthy of social solidarity and basic human rights, you're gonna end up with lots of weird enemies. These characters then are unable to love because they have never really experienced love. And because they are emotionally stunted, they are too selfish to recognize that there is a world outside of Patty's. And this causes them to rely completely on one another to sustain their identities. But they have no solidarity with one another because they are unable to love. It's a truly vicious cycle of misrecognition. The gang can only get recognition from the gang. It's a masturbatory version of self-identity. But the recognition they get from one another can only mean that they are seen as being worse than they actually are, even though they are already very bad. And so being together can only serve to make them worse ad infinitum. But because they need recognition, they are never able to escape. It's a Coors Light-soaked prison of their own creation. So is the gang completely doomed? Most definitely. But there is at least some hope. Our friend Haneth sees society as being structured along the lines of a struggle for recognition, whereby progress is made by the extension of recognition to some previously marginalized group, like the struggle for people to have their sexuality or gender recognized by friends, family, or even the law, which incidentally is exactly what happens to Mac, whose sexuality was previously the subject of perpetual jokes.
I know we've never said this as a group, but
Max gay.
Max gay?
yeah, Max gay.
He's gay.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
gay.
In a recent episode, Mac is trying to figure out how to express his sexuality. He's out, but he doesn't know how he fits into society as a gay man, and thinks having his father recognize him as gay will help him accept his identity. Meanwhile, Frank is trying to get Mac to dance on Patty's float for the upcoming gay pride parade, even though, as he insists,
I don't know where I fit in as a gay man, and it's starting to get to me.
Mac also struggles to articulate his identity.
And this woman and I, we start dancing and we get very passionate, and then it's all very confusing, but in the end, something new is born.
He comes out to his dad by expressing his sexuality in the form of modern dance. His dad quickly leaves in disgust, but Frank stays and watches. In one of the few genuinely sincere moments the series has ever produced, an entranced Frank murmurs, "I get it." This artistic expression of his sexuality allows Mac to make something previously inexpressible clear to himself and others. In this moment, he has transformed both his own personal understanding of himself and how he is understood by those around him. On top of that, Frank's recognition affirms Mac's identity in a positive way. Something new is born, and it's actually shockingly good. Now, if he can just share some of this recognition with the 4 other sociopaths he's somehow wedded his life to. Generally, It's Always Sunny relies on finding comedy in chronic misrecognition. But in moments like this, the show uses genuine recognition to create a moment of heartfelt empathy. And in doing so, it offers a small glimpse into the type of world that folks like Hegel and Haneth think lies on the other side of the struggle for recognition. But what do you guys think? Are Dennis, Mac, Charlie, Frank, and D bad because of the gang, or is the gang bad because Dennis, Mac, Charlie, Frank, and D are just bad people? Do we need to feel seen to be good people, or can we all just vibe? Let us know in the comments. And if you liked this video, be sure to check out all of our other Always Sunny takes. We cover everything from its anti-sitcom roots to how it's transformed over the years to Mac's budding career as a philosopher of science. Big thanks to our patrons for recognizing our work. And drench that subscribe button like you're doing shots before breakfast, and don't forget to ring that bell. And as always, thanks for watching. Later.